It's been a while. It has been a while since I've uploaded a new video. So excited that I have a brand new laptop and a new phone where my mouth matches the audio. It's awesome to have everything work together. I hope to have a lot more videos coming at you soon. Today I wanted to talk about how a cookie can be healthier than an apple. And this is not clickbait. So I want to make this I really want to make this conversational. So if you don't know, I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist. I have 2 online nutrition coaching practices, LLCs, and I work with a lot of people one-on-one with their nutrition, taking them from a place of just confusion and overwhelm and just yo-yo dieting to a place where they feel more confident about their food, where they can feel empowered around their food choices. That is my whole goal, is to help people to feel that way around food rather than having food control them. So I was talking to a client last week. Actually, no, it was this past weekend. And we were just kind of doing the normal weekly check-in. I've worked with this person for a couple weeks now, and so whenever I do my check-ins, we'll talk about what were some of the successes that they saw this previous week, what are some of the challenges that they'll be seeing possibly in the next coming week, and how we can approach those and game plan for those. And so this person was telling me how they were staying away from the bad foods and they were choosing more of the good foods, but unfortunately that they did that for a couple of days, but unfortunately 1 to 2 of those days they kind of went off and they really just kind of left any kind of their idea of what they should be eating to the side. I think ashamed of that or just, kind of remorseful for that. And so we broke it down. And if you don't know, I will never judge anybody about their food choices. I won't. It's just, I can't stand people who do that, so I'm not judgy around food. I am not the food police. I'm here to empower you around your food, not to police you around it. So we were talking about their food choices, and I explained how, I think I've talked about this in a previous video, maybe not, but there's something that I like to call it like the pendulum, like a diet pendulum, their nutrition pendulum. And so you can kind of think of that like on a pendulum, you pull the ball back and it like goes back and forth. So when you're talking about nutrition, if you are very much intensely restricting, you can kind of think about that as like a pendulum, like pulling the ball back with that restriction. As soon as that ball drops, it's going to go in the opposite direction in the same force, that same way. So what we want to aim for is being in the middle of that pendulum, where you just kind of go a little bit back and forth, but you're like staying in that middle rather than going from one extreme of restriction to the other extreme of that binge. And so that was not the plan. The plan, we just started working together. And so whenever I start to work with somebody, I see like the overall kind of bird's eye view, and then break that down by how long that will be working together. And so this person does have a lot of food rules and does see nutrition and food in like this black or white kind of category. So that is one of the kind of things that we are working on, moving food from that good, bad, black or white categories into a context category, a neutral context, a neutral category that needs context surrounding it. So I asked him what were the foods that he consumed on those days or on that day that he went off track. And so he was just saying they were bad foods and listed off what a lot of people might consider as bad foods. And he had mentioned that he should have chosen the apple that was available instead of that bad food. And so that's what kind of leads me into this whole video. It's talking about how a cookie can be healthier than an apple. Now, I am not saying that they are nutritionally equivalent. An apple has so much more nutrition, has so much more micronutrients in them. They have fiber in them. An apple is going to be an overall more nutrient dense food than a donut or than a cookie, a standard cookie. I'm not talking like a superfood cookie or anything like that. So I'm not saying that they are nutritionally equivalent. We know that there is going to be less micronutrients in that standard cookie, right? But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what is healthier. So when you're talking about what is healthier, we need to look at what the context is, number one. And two, we need to have a definition of what health is. Now, a lot of people, surprisingly, are so focused on health and they don't know what the definition of health is. So the World Health Organization defines health as complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So honing in, focusing on that first part, complete physical, mental, and social well-being. It's not just about that physical part. It's not just about what you put on your plate, what you put in your body. Health is overall a lot of other things. It's your social well-being and your mental well-being. Now, my argument for how a cookie can be healthier than an apple is if you're at your child's birthday party or your friend's birthday party or your dog's birthday party and you want to have a cookie and celebrate with them, and or even it doesn't have to be a party, it doesn't have to be a special day or an event. You can just want to have a cookie. And at that place, maybe you're with your friend, maybe you're by yourself. And if you don't have that rule of, I have to pick that apple instead, you can have that one cookie and really be present for it. You can really enjoy it. And maybe that helps a little bit of your mental or social well-being, depending on the context of it. And maybe having that apple instead wouldn't have really satisfied that craving that you had for that cookie. And so you might have eaten the apple and then like 20 minutes later, still been hungry, still been craving that cookie. Now, you could go at it as if to say, okay, I'm gonna have this apple, which I wouldn't do by itself. I would pair a little bit of protein or healthy fat with that. So have a little bit of peanut butter with it, or a cheese stick, or some nuts and seeds, something to help balance out the carbohydrate with some protein and fat. So you could do that, and then if you still wanted that cookie, like, go ahead and enjoy it. Or if you felt like you really weren't hungry, like you had a good snack or a good meal not too long ago and you just really want the cookie, then go ahead and have that. Because a lot of times if you have that restriction continuing to build up, as soon as that ball drops, like it did for this person, they went the opposite direction. And because they had that apple instead of maybe having that cookie, that put them into this spiral of going overboard, and that's not fun. That's not the goal. So this isn't to say that everybody can't do this. It's not to say that everybody can't say, like, I'm just gonna skip the cookie and have the apple, and they might be perfectly fine. But in my experience, now I'm not this like 20-year veteran of being a dietitian. I have been a dietitian for, I think next year in 2020 will be year 5. And I work with a lot of people. I don't even know how many people I've worked with. It's been a lot. And I'm not just saying that I'm like this, like, I'm like the best dietitian ever or anything. Like, I'm not. But I have worked with a lot of people, and unless you're like Jocko Willink, a lot of times when people have this focus and they're like, I am going to stay away from that cookie and I'm just gonna like stay on template or stay on track with whatever my numbers are, if they're able to do that for a little bit, it will turn back on them, and they won't be able to do that long term, like for longer than a year. I just want to take some of that thought that says that if you always say no to the cookie and always say yes to the apple, that you are like perfect in your nutrition. Like, I want to take people being proud of somebody for doing that, and I want to have people proud of somebody for mindfully, intentionally being present and choosing that cookie, enjoying it, not having it impact any other part of their day, and still be able to feel good, still be able to choose overall wholesome meals that are really going to help support their blood sugar levels, going to support their energy, going to support their health, all the blood lipid panels, everything that surrounds health. And that includes mental and social well-being. Health is not just about the physical part. Another thing that I really quickly wanted to mention is, let's say somebody is running on low blood sugar. Maybe they're a type 1 diabetic. It's just a genetic issue, a genetic thing, and they are running on a low blood sugar level, and they're not like quite low to where you would need to give them something like some quick glucose or some like fruit juice or something like that, but they're like getting a little bit lower. Having that apple is going to digest a little bit slower than that cookie would. And so at that point, looking at the context, it's going to be healthier to choose that cookie for that person. Now, that's not all you want to do. You want to do that, increase their blood sugar level up to a healthy point, and then get them a really balanced meal with a really nutrient dense source of carbohydrates and proteins and healthy fats. But for that time being, in the context, that would have been healthier. So nutrition, food choices, it's never going to be black and white. Unless we're talking about like trans fats, those really aren't good for your health. But I really want to get out of that focus and out of that view of this good, this bad, must stay away, or must only have on special occasions, or like having anything around it. I will say, I do not have any food rules for myself. And for a lot of people, that sounds crazy. They're like, oh, you must have a food rule where you only eat this on certain days, or you have to have this in order to do this. Like, no. I used to have a lot of food rules. I used to be very constricted by my own food rules and everything that I put on myself and what I had to follow with nutrition. But that's not who I am now. That's not what I do. That's not how I help people. I help people to get rid of those food rules and to really see food in a way that is in the context and allows them to make empowered choices around their food for their health, physical, mental, and social well-being. All right, I think that's it. I'll talk to you guys later.